for the purposes of sharing out with students who couldn't make it today, I am going to record this session. I'd like to start out by introducing myself. I am Dr. Edmondson, formerly known as Dr. Rodriguez. Some of you have probably seen emails come from me. And so our office orients and welcomes new students, but we also provide programming to support you throughout the academic year. So I am happy to be presenting this program on scholarships specifically, because we know that one of the biggest challenges among students in higher education is financial hardships. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our presenter, Amanda Pagan.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's event. I am Amanda Pagan. I am a graduate student finishing up my last semester, and I'll be presenting to you today. And so a little bit about myself. I am a first-gen EOF student, and between a mixture of loans and grants, I was provided the opportunity to attend college. But once I graduated, those loans were a huge bill. So today, our hope is that we'll introduce you to some new scholarships, talk about some local scholarships that you can apply for, and so that you're not walking out of college in a huge debt. So feel free to use the chat if you have any questions. We'll be able to answer those. You can unmute yourself as well. If we need to repeat any information, please just let us know. Awesome, so we'll get started. I'll share my screen. Can everyone see that? Perfect. Okay, so before we get started today, I actually wanted to play a quick Kahoot game just to kind of gauge the room to see what you know about scholarships. So we will get started with that. If you can, please pull out your phones. I always love Kahoot games. I'm very competitive.
I'm competitive too.
Awesome.
Okay, so we go into the website, the kahoot.it.
Yes, so you'll join using kahoot.it, and then you'll enter your game PIN number. And that's on the screen for you all. Okay. Oh, we have another Pagan in here.
Amanda, can you guess which one is my name? It's gonna load.
Winner.
Yes, you're right.
Of course. Awesome. I think, let's see how many people we have here today.
We have about 18 minus, I guess, one person or two people.
Okay, so I'll give everyone another 5 seconds to join, and then we'll get started. Okay. We have some people joining our room. Okay, so we will get started. First question. How much is the average student loan debt for graduates of a 4-year public institution? One person got that correct. It is $26,900.
I should have known back in 2000, I guess 9 or 10, it was like 20,000, but I thought it would have increased dramatically.
Yeah, so Gabby is in the lead. Next question. I'm a junior. Is it too late for me to receive a scholarship? One of the #1 questions I often get. Perfect. Yep, that is completely false. You can get a scholarship up until your junior year. And if you're a graduate student, you can still apply to scholarships and receive funding for that as well. Limited on funding, but definitely still apply for scholarships. And Gabby's still in the lead with 1875. True or false, getting a scholarship is like trying to win the lottery. Yep, that is correct. It is false. So winning the lottery is a random draw versus with a scholarship, you have control over your application, your GPA, any of those materials that you're submitting, you have control over that. So lotteries are just at random. Scholarships, you have control over. And Gabby is on fire. 3 correct. True or false, the Stockton University Foundation offers approximately 200 scholarships. I love this meme. You get a scholarship, you get a scholarship.
I feel like that's a trick question.
Yes, that is true. And we have actually a guest speaker. So Kathleen Woods is here with us today, and she will dive deep into what those scholarships entail, eligibility requirements. So it's going to be very informative today. Okay, Jay and Gianna coming up. Quiz, who can review my scholarship essay? My professor, the tutoring center, a family or friend, all of the above. Nice, everyone got that correct. It is all of the above. Oftentimes, I think that students think they can't go to the tutoring center to get those essays reviewed, but you actually can. Awesome, so let's see. Who is our third place winner? Kate. Second place winner, Sarah. And our first place winner, Jay. Nice, nice. Runners up are Gabby and Gianna. Awesome. So we will jump back into the PowerPoint. Just thumbs up. You can see my screen, right? Perfect. So let's go to our second slide. So our agenda for today. So we'll be going over some roadblocks that students face when applying to scholarships, how to find the perfect scholarship that matches you, eligibility and application requirements, the Stockton University Foundation Scholarship. We'll discuss some scholarship databases that I actually use, essay tips and tricks, and then we'll provide you with some resources. So here is a list of responses that I often get from students when I start talking about scholarships. So the first one is getting a scholarship is like trying to win the lottery. They're discouraged because they feel that it's just a random selection. And as we saw and I shared in the Kahoot, unlike lotteries, scholarships, you have complete control over your essay, your application, your letters of recommendation. So the chances of you winning aren't random. And then just to share more about like what my role is professionally. So I serve on a scholarships and awards committee, and we give away $250,000 to students. And the scholarship I oversee is the financial needs scholarship. And last spring, we had $15,000 in unclaimed scholarship money from students just not applying. So we had to roll over that money for the fall semester. So from that story, I just want to share, I think, again, we are our biggest roadblocks, right? Like we are blocking ourselves from these blessings. So students think that everyone else is applying, so I don't have the opportunity to win a scholarship. But that's like the first misconception, and I want to share that story with you so that it encourages you to apply for scholarships. The second response I get is always, my GPA isn't high enough. I won't be able to win a scholarship. I don't have a 3.7 GPA. 60% of scholarships don't require a GPA. And those that do require a GPA, then you know what your GPA is and you can match yourself up with those scholarships that fit you best. Scholarships are awarded to students for all sorts of reasons, so it's about finding the perfect scholarship for you. The third top response I always get is, I don't have time to apply to scholarships. It's going to take hours and I'm already, in student organizations. I'm working full-time or part-time. I have my academics. I just don't have the time for scholarships. And what I say to that is, we want you to be set up for success so that you're working smart and not hard. The secret about scholarships is that most of them have the same essay prompts. And this gives you the perfect opportunity to be able to use your essays. Are there any like roadblocks that you all have faced when like trying to apply to scholarships or just navigating that site? Feel free to like drop it in the chat. Just very curious to see what your experience has been like with scholarships.
I recall when I was a student, Amanda, I was afraid, or it was daunting, the amount of scholarships that were available and all the essays that were required for all the scholarships.
Yep, I completely agree. I think that, being able to streamline the process is what's important, and that's what we're going to go over today. So I want to streamline the process for you so that when you're looking at a scholarship, there are like top things that you can identify, right? So does the scholarship match me? What is the scholarship asking? What are the eligibility and application requirements? If you're able to identify that off the bat, then we're able to like figure out, is this the right scholarship? Do I invest my time in this scholarship? So again, we're going to be streamlining that process for you all today. And so when we're talking about the perfect scholarships, there are 4 main types of scholarships that students will often apply for. So it's the academic or merit-based scholarship. So these are usually awarded to students based on their academic performance. We also have the need-based scholarship. That's a scholarship I actually oversee with my company. And for those are awarded based on a student's financial needs. Then there is the unique hobbies, traits, and aspirations scholarship. I love this one because it gives you the opportunity to tell your story. So they still may require for some background information, so maybe a GPA, and if there is like income. However, this is your time to just share, your unique story. And then the final one would be a personal background scholarship. So these are usually awarded to students based on their race, ethnicity, gender, those common attributes. And so again, when you're looking at a scholarship, you want to be able to put them in one of these 4 buckets. Because when you're able to put them in these 4 buckets, then you can tell, like, is this a scholarship that is right for me? Is this the perfect scholarship that I should be applying for? Another just thing that you should note when applying for scholarships is also about, is this a local scholarship or is this a national scholarship, right? Because our national scholarships, while they're highly competitive, and I definitely encourage you to apply to these scholarships, you also want to look for local or small scholarships because these have a smaller pool of students that are applying and it gives you a higher chance at winning an award. So I just wanted to give you just like briefly like throw out a couple scholarships for you because I think that that's like probably the scariest thing, right, is like looking at scholarships. So when I was just like, again, I have an account with bold.org. I'm very familiar with applying to these scholarships, and so I just wanted to pull 3 scholarships so that we can look at it together. So for these scholarships, you'll see that none have a GPA requirement, which is really nice. The first one, can you all see what these scholarships say, or is it a little too small, the text?
I can't see the text on the actual image, but I can see the text underneath the image.
Perfect. So I'll just share that out with you. So the Juju Scholarship Foundation awards 2 students of $5,000 each for there again, there's no GPA requirement, but there is a essay requirement. The essay is only 500 words, and the topic is, what is your greatest strength in life, and what is your greatest aspiration in life, and what drives you? Then our second scholarship that I have posted is $8,000 scholarship for a student that is pursuing a medical degree. So there is a requirement that the student must come from an ethnic background of being African American, and the essay topic is 500 to 1,000 words, and it is, what do you hope to achieve in your career in medicine, and how are you preparing yourself to achieve that? Then I love this last one. It is our Pet Lovers Scholarship. This one is a very creative scholarship where they ask you to submit a picture of your pet and just share a short caption on why do you love your pet and what makes your pet unique. So that's nice. And the reason why I added that scholarship is because I want to show you that there are scholarships for pretty much anything and everything. So again, you have to find a scholarship that fits you, that matches your strengths, that talks about your passions and your purpose and your hobbies and what makes you unique. So, and again, when I'm looking at these scholarships, like, because I've done this, I know that from the first one, from the Juju Scholarship Foundation and the Pet Lovers Scholarship Foundation, these are scholarships that we're going to put in that bucket of unique hobbies, traits, and aspirations. But however, when we're looking at that middle scholarship, the Black Medical Student Scholarship, that is a scholarship based on your personal background. So again, when you start to look at scholarships in that way, it's easier to identify which ones you want to apply for and should be applying for.
Now, Amanda, there was a comment made about feeling like they never met all 100% of the qualifications listed on scholarship forms that they found online. Is that something you'll cover later?
Yep. So we are going to discuss, actually, we are going to discuss like eligibility and requirements with our next scholarship. So on our next slide, what's important to note is that for most of the scholarship databases that you're going to sign up for, it'll actually match you up with these scholarships. So it'll ask you to create a profile, and it'll ask you in depth questions on just random things. But those random things is because they want to create a unique profile for you so that they're matching you with scholarships that you fully qualify for. So it's like a pre-screening almost, which I absolutely love. So I wanted to share with everyone a nationally known scholarship. So if you're looking for a scholarship to study abroad or intern abroad, this is the scholarship that you may want to look into. So the Gilman Education Abroad Scholarship offers up to $5,000 for students who want to study or intern abroad. And what's very encouraging about this scholarship is that over 3,600 students are awarded this scholarship. So I have a QR code, so if you want to scan that, the deadline is approaching. March 9th is the deadline for students to submit their applications. But again, I would encourage you to look at this scholarship, especially if you're looking to study abroad or intern abroad for the fall semester. Any questions? No? Okay. And for this one, I just wanted to point out for the scholarship that the only eligibility requirements are that you are a U.S. citizen, that you are an undergrad at a accredited institution, and that you are receiving a federal Pell Grant. So again, we're not asking about GPA here, so you don't have to be discouraged. You know, if you don't have that 3.5 or 3.7, there are definitely opportunities for you to apply for these scholarships. And I will pass this over to Kathleen.
Amanda, thank you for having me today. Just to make sure, can everyone hear me okay? Okay, awesome. So kind of taking it from the top, I want to talk to you all about not only just foundation scholarships, but the two main types of scholarship programs that Stockton offers. So most universities and colleges have what's called institutional funding, which is a little bit different from everything Amanda has presented to you thus far. Those are like the outside and the private scholarships that are in your communities and through businesses and other organizations. But the nice thing is you also know, in addition to all that, is what the university and the college can guarantee you. So again, when you're going through the financial aid process, they'll always say, do your FAFSA, do your state application, and third part, scholarships. A large part, they say, is what they have at the university. So Stockton has two. They have what's through admissions. So those are usually for the incoming freshmen and transfer students. Those are usually renewable all 4 years, so long as you meet the basic eligibility criteria. And they're usually determined based on your performance indicators, either in high school or at your prior institution that you attended, like your GPA and class rank. But then what we have with the foundation and what my office does is a little bit different. Those are private scholarships set up through private donations, and they're geared toward the upperclassmen. So once you complete your first semester, so under eligibility, they talk about having completed 1 semester at Stockton, generating a GPA here, having a history and academic record. You become eligible for our program, and you can actually apply every year. So you can, from your second semester as a freshman or a transfer student up until you graduate. So I just kind of wanted to make the distinction of, again, the 2 funds and how one just kind of automatically renews versus us, you apply each year. The foundation is primarily a merit-based program. However, as higher ed changes, so does our program. So we're actually seeing a lot of new scholarships coming online that are geared to financial need as well as merit. So that's a really nice thing. So kind of echoing what Amanda said about, don't rule yourself out. I want to say we have maybe like 20 scholarships where they're not only looking at GPA and what you put on your essay and your application and your extracurriculars, but we're pulling in that FAFSA data too. So there's some special consideration, again, based on your needs. So I think that's a very nice kind of system of checks and balances that are out there, and the types of students that the committee looks at. But in addition to that, kind of talking to our process, I always tell students it's 3 steps and it's quite easy. It's very streamlined. We have you do 1 application, 1 essay, 1 recommendation letter, and that's how we screen and match you to the 200 scholarship funds. So whereas in many, I want to say 5 years ago or maybe further back, you would have to do 1 application and essay per scholarship fund. Nowadays, I mean, the system does it all for you. So I always tell students, you want to answer every question on the application. You want to give as much detail as you're comfortable giving, because that's really going to help screen and match against all those funds. And likewise, sitting in the room with the scholarship committee as they make the determinations, they really do read the essays and the reference letters closely. So I love the advice that was given about asking professors, family, friends, and especially the Writing Center on campus. If you're ever in doubt about your essay or just want to build your confidence, get a little bit more help. And fun fact, at Stockton, the Writing Center coordinator, Professor Pamela Cross, is actually our scholarship committee co-chair. So she's not a bad person to have looking over your materials as you go through this process. So I know a lot of times I get very enthusiastic and I talk a lot about our program, but I just really want to stress that everyone who's involved with the process wants to see the students succeed. So not only from like Professor Cross and her staff helping you with the essay, but in my office, I do weekly outreach. If you ever have an incomplete application, or if you made a mistake with maybe how you put your reference on the application, I run reports, take a look at that, and I'll send you an email, because we really want to get you through the process and we want you to be considered. So I can't stress that enough. We're here to really see that you're successful. And to that end, it gets a little confusing because we have about 200 scholarship funds, but those funds generate close to 700 individual scholarships. So each year we have, that amount of unique recipients. So might seem confusing. What does that mean? We might have a scholarship that awards 2 or 3 students. Likewise, our general scholarship, we award probably close to 200 students just out of that fund alone. It's a very big pot of money. So that's kind of the general gist of how we administer it, and some kind of insider tips and tricks and things to, again, take the stress out of it, but build your confidence as you go through the process. But I agree with Amanda. I can't stress enough, like the more complete your application is, it really does all of the legwork for you. And usually once you submit your application, you get a tentative snapshot of what you're being considered for. So that's a nice thing too. Once you get through process and you submit everything, it's kind of cool to see that like your hard work pays off and what you very well might be considered for once it goes to the committee for review. Sorry, I wrote a couple notes here. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything that I think would certainly be worth noting, and just as you go through it again, go through the process. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And again, kind of gleaning over general eligibility, we want to see that you have 1 semester here. 3.0 GPA is the base. We have a couple brand new ones coming in that's a slightly lower GPA, 2.5. But for the most part, the vast majority of them, we're looking at 3.0 or higher. Good academic standing. Usually if you have that GPA, you are in good academic standing. And new this year, we're beginning to shift how we award. So whereas primarily if you were an undergrad, we'd want you to be full-time, we're starting to have more scholarships come online for the part-time student because we recognize maybe you might have to work to support yourself as an undergraduate. So I think that's something that, kind of going back to considering financial need with merit, I think that's important. And I think in the future, we'll just have even more offerings to students. So beyond that, as long as you're registered this spring and you're looking to come back next year, even if you have to take a semester off, like you get awarded, oh, I have to take fall off for a personal reason. If you come in spring, we can make that adjustment for you too. So that very last bullet under eligibility, I just want to also stress the flexibility in how we award once you are selected too. So again, I gave you a lot of information, but does anyone have any questions or anything that they want to comment on if they're going through the process?
Kathy, did you mention where to find the applications? I see it opens up February 3rd, closes March 24th.
Yes, actually, let me go and I can put the link into our chat box here for you guys.
Excellent.
Sorry, 1 second. It will require you to use your Stockton username and password, so it's the same as the Go Stockton portal. So our webpage does a great job explaining the process all together. And then from there, once you click the Apply Now button, it brings you to what is actually the online application itself. So again, it'll just require you to use your Stockton username and password, so the same as Go Portal and Blackboard and your university email, so those big three. And speaking of university email, that weekly outreach that I do, I send it to your Stockton email. So if you can, you definitely want to keep an eye on that. Check maybe a couple times a week if you're not already doing so, because again, that'll let you know exactly where you stand right now. And if anything is incomplete or doesn't look right, I'll usually give you some step-by-step instructions for how to make the correction and continue on in the process.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are these scholarships, like, once you apply and say you get one, does it carry on throughout your entire time, or do you have to reapply every single year or semester?
You would reapply each year. We have maybe 1 or 2 that are renewable, but the vast majority, yes, you will apply each year. So the nice thing about that is, as you go through, we have students who maybe earn a few scholarships. Sometimes they earn a similar one each year. Other times you qualify for different things. So again, different scholarship programs, the amounts vary. I want to say between 500 to one of our most generous is about 2,500 from that particular scholarship fund. So yes, when you apply each year, your consideration for all of it, I would say, is always that in lifetime. So again, going back to applying, maybe you didn't get something last year, don't feel discouraged, because this year you very well might qualify. So yes, it's an annual application.
And just to follow up with that, so the scholarship would go through the entire year, both the fall and spring semester?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Typically the award schedule will be split evenly between fall and spring. But if, again, your plans change and maybe you're going to be a fall graduate and you're selected, we'll give you all that funding in the fall with confirmation of your graduation status. Or for instance, this year with COVID and the pandemic, I had several students over the summer reach out to me that because of things going on with their family, they had to take fall off, but they would be back in spring. So likewise, I told the student, I'll ask financial aid to adjust it for you. So all that funding they earned was there and ready for them in spring when they re-enrolled.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I love what I do and I could talk a lot about it, so.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. I think it's super important to just share, like, again, local resources that are available to students. I know when I was an undergrad, like, these resources weren't readily available, so I didn't know about them. And so thank you so much for coming today and just answering questions for students and just providing, you know, your knowledge on the foundation scholarships. And one thing, Yeah, and one thing I really want to point out and stress is that for the scholarship that I oversee professionally, we do not send those reminder emails. And it pains me because when I see a great student submit an application and their essay is incredible, I have to deny them because they did not submit everything. So if they're missing their transcript, if they're missing their letter of rec, I have to deny it. We don't have the capacity to email all students. You know, we have thousands of students applying, so we just don't have that. And so I think that that's great that you have this resource on your campus, and Kathleen, who cares enough, right, to send you an email, make sure that you're getting that done. So
Absolutely.
definitely take advantage of this opportunity. Awesome. And then I did see a question that came into the chat that asked about how do I start with asking professors for letters of recommendation, especially for a transfer student? Great question. And as I shared in the chat, you want to start identifying those professors that you may want to ask for a letter of recommendation, or any other faculty and staff members today. You don't want to ask them right when you're applying and you need that letter recommendation within a week. You want to start identifying those stakeholders today, because if you start recognizing like, oh, you know, I have a connection with this professor, and you know, you start sending out those emails, then the chances of you getting that letter recommendation on time will increase, right? You'll have a higher chance of being able to submit that letter recommendation. So again, my advice is to start today.
Who would you suggest is the best people to get a letter of recommendation from? Like, who would stand out the most for a scholarship program?
Can I jump in too?
Yep, go ahead.
What I like to tell students, you want to ask a professor who you have rapport enough where they can really give some great examples as far as your, not only your academic performance, but maybe like a little bit about your character. Or we like to give our faculty a prompt as well as instructions for how to do their piece of it with the recommendation letter, including like things that maybe they want to touch upon. And then the other writing prompt that we give them, for lack of better terms, I would say is maybe they've worked with a student who's overcome something significant. Let's say maybe they started the class, that student wasn't doing very well, but put in the work, not only working with the professor, but maybe going to tutoring, turn the grade around. So like overcoming hardship. Likewise, not only just hardship in academic performance, but maybe a professor knows that something else is going on in your personal life, but in spite of all of that, you're still very involved at Stockton and doing very well in your classes. So I would say you want to ask a professor who knows you and who's going to write like a really personalized and well thought out letter, just like you want to write your well thought out essay. Versus something that maybe it's a popular professor and they do a lot of letters, but maybe it's a little bit formulaic and they have a general template that they might use for most students. So I'd say as you're asking faculty, don't be shy, you could ask them about that. And some might even ask you for your resume to guide them through the writing process. But yes, I'd say someone who you have a connection with, who knows you, who can, kind of put that personal touch on it.
Would like just professors from your university be considered, or like teachers from high school too? Because like I'm a freshman and I know I have like much more better relationships with my teachers in high school than the few professors I've had.
Unfortunately for our Stockton Foundation Scholarship Program, we do require it to come from a Stockton faculty, but that's also like a logistics thing that we build everyone's credentials and verify it using the Stockton username and email account. So that's both for the student and the faculty. And another reason for that, our committee really likes to hear from their peers. So that's why they would prefer it comes from the Stockton faculty. However, I know a lot of outside scholarships, it might be your choice, but at least for foundation scholarships, it is a Stockton professor.
We have a question in the chat about would the teacher send the letter of recommendation directly to me, or would they send it via the scholarship website?
What happens when you put the faculty member's name and email on your application, our system that we use automatically sends them an email request for you. It's like instantaneous. And that gives an outline of what we look for in the letter, as well as step-by-step instructions for how to upload the reference for you. It is a confidential reference, but a lot of times the faculty member will give you a copy and just let you know what they're going to submit on your behalf. But the faculty member takes care of that piece of it. So we give them, again, like that email directly to their account and links in, and again, the explanation how to log in and actually do the upload themselves. So just like we give you comprehensive instructions, we also do that on the faculty side. Great questions, by the way, everyone.
Awesome. So we will move along. Make sure. Okay, so we're going to talk about scholarship databases. So I had to add in a TikTok video, make this a little engaging, fun. I know I'm obsessed with TikTok. It's not good during the academic year, but yeah.
Girl, I feel you. That's why I go to bold.org and get scholarships like this one, and this one too. Start applying today.
Great. And so what I wanted to share, particularly when I'm talking about databases today, is I want to make sure that we're able to provide you with resources so that right after today's event, you can sign up for these databases and get started on those scholarships, right? And what's really important to note is that all of these scholarship websites are free. They will ask you to create a profile just using your strengths, your skills, your backgrounds. But again, it's so that they can automatically match you with scholarships that are perfect for you. And so I often use bold.org, and why I love bold.org is because it'll send you emails every time you match with a scholarship. So you're able to review that scholarship, and it tracks what scholarships you've applied for. So very easy website to navigate, but these are definitely my top 4 that I would recommend. Another resource that I recently learned about was the Stockton University Office of Financial Aid. So I inserted that QR code because they do have a page just sharing all of the scholarships that are available to students. On their Twitter page, they shout out different scholarships on a weekly basis. So if you don't know where to start, I definitely suggest starting right here, right? So scanning that QR code and then signing up for at least 2 of these websites, so that you can get started. So that you can get started on applying for those scholarships. I do want to note that you will probably get a ton of emails. I probably get 1 email every other day from bold.org, just matching me with new scholarships. So it may be helpful to create an email account that you check, and that is only for scholarships. Any questions about any of these databases? I see one question in here. So another quick question. When you get a chance, would you suggest emailing the professor and asking them if they will write it out, or just submitting the request? I think that that's a great question when we're talking about letters of recommendation, right? So I can just share what my experience has been like. I actually asked Anna, Dr. Edmondson, for a letter of recommendation when I was applying to graduate school. And so what I included, and I'm going to outline it later in our presentation, but what I included was my resume. I included some top achievements from the past 2 years. And then I also shared what is my want. So what do I want to get out of this program? Why is it important for me to get into this graduate program? So that it helped her curate a letter of recommendation that was not only personal and could attest to my achievements, but also can share where I'm going and what my goals were.
I know that this is a Rutgers resource, but I used to work at Rutgers and I created this document. It's still on the website. So I'm going to share with you some etiquette tips for requesting a letter of recommendation. I just posted it into the chat feature.
Thanks, Anna.
And the office that can help you write a resume would be the Career Education and Development Office. It is under the stairwell in the campus center. close to Dunkin' Donuts.
Perfect. And so just wanted to give you some essay tips and tricks. So when looking at essays, first you want to be able to identify like what are they asking? What is the question? Because when you're able to identify what they're asking, then you can determine if you can reuse the essay that you already have, or maybe you can just tailor one that you have to fit the response that they're expecting. So these are some commonly asked questions you'll probably see on most applications. So the first one is, why do you need this scholarship and what are your academic or professional goals? So if you remember, one of the scholarships I actually shared in the previous slide asked that. So what are your academic and professional goals? So when we're looking at this question is looking to identify if the recipient is the right person to invest in. So some tips on writing an essay prompt for that would be identifying your goals, right? And discussing how the money will help you pursue your goals and include so far what you have done to achieve that goal. 3 top bullet points that you want to include for that essay. For the second essay, they're asking, talk about a time you overcame an obstacle. Who do you admire and why? And for this question, they're looking to identify what motivates you. Are you able to overcome difficult times, and who do you look up to? So for this essay prompt, I would definitely just outline, identify an obstacle that you faced in your life and how you overcame it and what motivated you to persevere. And then tie in your role model, right? So discuss how overcoming your obstacle or you were inspired by your role model. And just some tips when writing your essays. Grammar is so important. When I'm reviewing essays sometimes, I don't think I'm able to like fully get a picture or understand what the student is sharing if I can't get over all of the grammatical errors. So that's just like something very simple and easy. And that talks to how much effort the student put into their essay. So that's something very easily that you can catch, that the Writing Center can help you with. So please make sure that you are checking your grammar. You also want to make sure that you are meeting, sorry about that, you're meeting the word requirement. So again, as I was sharing earlier, if a student doesn't submit all of their required documents, I have to deny their application. If a student doesn't meet our word requirement, I have to deny their application. So you want to make sure, again, all applications will have a different word count or character count. So be attentive to what that word count and character count is. You also want to make sure that you are answering the prompt. I've received a couple of essays that are not, I know that they reused the essay, which again, it's completely okay to reuse your essays, but you want to make sure that you're answering the prompt that was given for that particular scholarship application, because I can't award you a scholarship if when we're reading over the application, it's not even answering the question. So you want to make sure that, again, reusing essays, completely okay, but you want to make sure that they're answering the prompt. And then you want to make sure that you are including something unique, something that attests to your story. You know, be creative. Remember, this is a competitive scholarship program, and the selection panelists only have your essays to really tell your story. So make sure you're doing that well. And then some resources. So again, as we shared, you can use the Tutoring Center for assistance when crafting that essay. I also have an Excel sheet that I will use. So there are a ton of legitimate websites that will help you write your essay, but why pay for these services if they're offered for free at your institution? So I cannot stress enough how important it is to utilize the Tutoring Center. And you can sign up for a 30-minute session with the Tutoring Center and just help curate the perfect essay and find your voice. So you won't need to do this multiple times. Once you perfect your statement or your essays, you should be able to reuse that same essay. So definitely a great investment in making sure that you're perfecting that essay. And again, most databases will track your progress for you. However, there will be unique or individual scholarships that won't do that, like the Gilman Education Abroad Scholarship. So I would just share you want to be very organized with this, you know, so you want to make sure that you're not going to have a Kathleen following up with you asking, you know, hey, where's your letter recommendation? Where's that transcript? So if you are interested, I can actually drop this in the chat box, the link for this Excel sheet that I use. So I'll drop that in the chat box. So if you are interested in using that, it's very easy to just track everything that you'll need and your progress. But yes. Next steps, because this is always important, right? We want to make sure that we are following up with all of the information that we're receiving for today, right? So I have this like theory of like speed of implementation. So how fast can I implement ideas and strategies that I'm learning, right? Because if you start on these action steps right now, then you'll have a higher chance of getting those resources that you need. And all of the resources that we shared today will be fresh on your mind. So that'll give you more of an edge. So an opportunity to complete these scholarships on time and get what you need on time. And also, so the first step would be to create that email, right? So you want to create that email when you're applying to outside scholarships so that we're not flooding our inboxes and not feeling overwhelmed. The second would be to connect with a couple of professors now and ask them for a letter recommendation. So as shared previously, you don't want to wait until a week or 2 weeks before the deadline, and then you're asking professors for letters of recommendations. So if you connect with them now, it'll be a lot easier when you're asking for that letter recommendation. Our third action step will be to identify your accomplishments from the past 3 or 4 years. As I shared, when I was asking for a letter recommendation, it was easier to ask for that letter recommendation when I was able to provide my accomplishments, my goals, my resume, right? So it's easier for them to create that letter recommendation that's personal for your story. Then I want you to sign up for at least 2 scholarship databases and follow the Office of Financial Aid on social media. I love their Twitter. I went through it yesterday, just like seeing what information they were offering. And again, I think they posted like 4 or 5 times just within the past week and a half with scholarships opportunities. And so just take advantage of those resources. They're on campus. And again, it's readily available for you all. And then the final thing is to start your essays this week. You know, after applying to scholarships, we also want to encourage you to post about it. Use our hashtag, I will apply to scholarships, so that we know that you're applying. If you need help, we are all available to assist you with that. But yeah. Any questions on anything we went over today? I know it's like a information overload on scholarships.
I know. Do you have a link of the financial aid sites, social medias?
Yes, so I can drop that in the chat box for you all. Let me go back to this here. If you click on this, or if you scan this QR code, it'll take you directly to their page, and then their social media is linked on the page.
Yes. Thank you. This was excellent, excellent resources from Amanda and Kathy. Thank you so much. To all the students, please, what is that called? Speed of implementation of what Amanda was saying is good, because you'll forget it tomorrow. So if you can start to set up that new email account, so that way your regular email account is not bombarded with scholarships, and you could easily access the scholarships quickly. Create that new email as Amanda suggested. I've now posted the survey in the link. Remember, you will be entered into a raffle to receive a prize. So please, it'll take you 5 minutes. I guarantee you. You will be entered into a raffle. This is to take your attendance and to give you credit for attending today's program. Let's all show Amanda some love in the chat feature, and Kathy some love in the chat feature for sharing all their knowledge and wisdom. So please complete the survey before you actually leave this room. And once you are done the survey, you can be dismissed from this session. You're getting love in the comments. Cleared up many questions. Thank you. Thank you. Very informative, really helpful. So this was excellent. So if you want to see more programs like this, you got to fill out the survey. That's what the survey is there for. It's for us to know your interests, and so we can continue providing you with resources like this. I will be sharing the recording on our website, the Student Transition Programs website. Amanda, can you pull up that website, Student Transition Programs at Stockton, so that way people will know where to find this video recording later.